What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is the weekly one-shot, the show where I go over a specific topic and give you a little bit more insight into it. And what I'm going to be doing is talking about the 9 comics that I'm looking out for in December of 2016. So I've taken a look at the solicitations going forward, and I picked out 9 that I think that are going to be really good examples of what you want to take a look at. We're going to start with indie books, go to DC, and then go to Marvel. To start things off, we're going to talk about Klaus and the Witch of Winter #1 by Grant Morrison, and this is coming from Boom Studios, which is a pretty interesting book because it's taking the tale of Santa Claus, or particularly a young Santa Claus, and thrusting him into this kind of fantasy adventure realm, which should be pretty interesting, especially coming from Grant Morrison. The book is a little bit on the expensive side. It is a bit larger, but it is $7.99, so that's a very interesting book at a very high price. So if you're into that kind of thing, or you're a big fan of Grant Morrison, it's definitely one to take a look at. Then we have Motor Crush, which is coming from Image, and this is a sci-fi action thriller that's centering around a girl that's in a global motorcycle racing league. So it's very interesting, and I'm really kind of hung up on the art style. I want to see how this kind of plays out in an action-adventure sci-fi kind of storyline. I think that looks to be really cool. We also have Rockstars #1 from Image, and this is about a rock and roll kind of like groupie murder mystery that's happening, and there's this journalist. He's a rock nerd kind of person, and he's the only person that can solve this case of unsolved mystery murders, and it's going to be following him along on the road as he gets to meet some of the latest and greatest rock stars of that era as he's trying to put these pieces together. So that's going to be pretty cool too. I'm really interested to see how music and characters interact in this, and that's why this book has got so much potential. Then we go over to DC, and DC's got a big crossover event that's coming in December, and that is going to be Justice League versus Suicide Squad #1. So I have made no bones about this, that Justice League is a book that I feel is not necessarily living up to its potential, and Suicide Squad ultimately has a main story arc that is often confusing. Most of the time it's just not very good, and then ultimately it's just really too short. They've got these very truncated main storylines, and then they fill the rest of the book with secondary arcs that kind of fill in on these characters. However, the potential of Justice League versus Suicide Squad runs in its talent pool. So what we see in this crossover is that it's being penned by somebody completely different. It looks like it's Joshua Williamson, who's currently writing The Flash. He's doing Frostbite and a couple other things. But this is going to be a very interesting take because you get to take these pieces, all these toys from the sandbox, put them all together, put them with a very talented writer and ultimately a very talented art team to create this crossover. And this is going to be a big bad one because this is going to be the kickoff. The first 2 issues are going to land in December, and then the next 4 issues are going to happen in January. So this is the start of a very hot and heavy kind of story that's going to last for the 6 weeks ending December and going through January. Also, we have Batman #13, which ends the I Am Suicide arc. And this is interesting because this is where we get to see up the wrap-up between the potential storylines that are created by Catwoman, Batman, and Bane. Do they reclaim the Psycho Pirate? What is the result? How many people are dead from this whole team? With everything that happened in Batman #11, that makes Batman #13 all that more important to the storyline to see how everything pans out and how everything is going to progress moving forward. There's a whole lot of moving parts in this one, and this is going to bring it all together. Then we also have the last book from DC, which is the DC Rebirth Holiday Special. So this is a 96-page book, and it's going to be telling a whole bunch of different holiday stories. But watch out, man. It's got a $9.99 cover price. So that's $10 for a comic book. That's a whole heck of a lot for a comic book, but it's one of those things where if it's got potential, if it's got entertainment, if it's got value that's going along with it, you assemble a superstar squad of people to kind of put together this holiday special meant for fun. I'm really interested to see what kind of stories they tell in there, especially over the course of those 100 pages, but it's one of those things where, hey, it may or may not be interested for you, but I want to let you guys know about it because it seems interesting to me. To finish off, we're going to go with Marvel because Marvel's got a whole heck of a lot of #1s coming out with Marvel Now 2.0. The first one I want to talk about is Nova #1, which is going to see the return of Richard Rider. So not only is this going to kind of play with Sam Alexander, but also it's going to bring back one of the most recent and most famous Novas, something that fans have really been clamoring for. Seeing Sam Alexander get a mentor in Richard Rider is going to be a huge factor in his development moving forward, especially now that he's a part of the Champions team. I really can't wait to see what this one's all about, and it wasn't a book that I was anticipating at all, but I'm more and more excited the more I read the Champions book from Mark Waid. I really want to see Nova take off. That would be great. We also have Hawkeye #1, which is going to see the return of Kate Bishop, who's back on her West Coast LA kick, ready to kick some ass. And this is written by Kelly Thompson, the writer of A-Force, so ultimately this is going to be a pretty good story, and we're going to see the differentiation between this Hawkeye and the current Clint Barton Hawkeye in Occupy Avengers. A lot of people really love Kate Bishop as Hawkeye, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction this gets from fans and what kind of popularity comes with this book. I'm really excited because I don't have a lot of history with Kate Bishop, but it's definitely something I'm going to be catching up on before she comes out. And to finish things off, we're going to go with the Hulk. But it's not Bruce Banner, because it's Jennifer Walters. And Jennifer is, she's out of her coma from Civil War II. She's ultimately fighting this giant ball of rage that is built up inside her. As a character that has always had her rage and anger under control, and he had the ability to transform at will between being a Hulk-like figure and a regular female-like figure, and she chose to be in that Hulk persona all the time. It's going to be interesting to see how she copes with the building rage as a result of the apparent murder of her cousin Bruce. So it's one of those books where I'm really interested to see how they dissect and really evolve Jennifer's character, taking her from this composed kind of like fourth wall / lawyer kind of character and bringing her into something that's a little bit more akin to where Bruce is at and giving her justification. Because if you go from someone that's so controlled and so prevalent in the Marvel Universe, so out there as being in control of her powers and so prideful of who she is and how she's represented, it's going to be interesting to see how she kind of fights with this aspect of no longer necessarily having that control and whether that's justified or not. So Hulk #1 is definitely a book that you're going to want to watch out for. So those are my 9 comics to watch for December of 2016, but I want to know what you guys are picking up too and what you're excited for. So hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe right there to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.